Well, I'd like to use this particular design to discuss the use of Osnaps in the gCADplus drawing environment. I've floated the Osnap toolbar here on the screen, and let's zoom in a little on it, and you can see that the designer here is running with a number of Osnaps on. We can snap to endpoint, midpoint, and center of the circle, and intersection, perpendicular to, and nearest. So these Osnaps have been set and are running the whole time that we are drafting. If we go across to Object Snap Settings, this particular dialog box pops up, and you can see that all the tick marks are alongside the Osnaps that I've mentioned, but critically Object Snap is running and on, and I draw your attention to the F3 key. You can press the F3 key certainly on a Windows keyboard. I'm using a Mac here and haven't tried it on the Mac, but you can switch all those Osnaps on or off just with the F3 key. So let's cancel from there, and let's illustrate why you might want to run with all of these on and what it does in the gCADplus environment. Clearly this is let me zoom out, it's an entrance to a building, and the designer wants to use some sort of irregular paving pattern through here leading to the front entrance. And rather than draw them as we've started doing down here, draw each particular flagstone individually, that's really tedious. So let's select them and erase them. So really what we'd like to do is to take advantage of gCADplus's paving patterns and apply a pattern to that space. And as you'll see in a moment, to form a closed polyline around it can be a little bit tricky, and if you run with these Osnaps on all the time, you'll see gCADplus hunting around trying to find the correct spot. So let's demonstrate. If you look over here, I've set my current drawing color to magenta. So let's start the polyline command. And what we're trying to illustrate is the influence that these running snaps have on our design. So if we come in here, we need to form this polyline. Now there's an intersect there, so it can find the intersect. We come over here, another intersect, and now I find an endpoint. There's the endpoint marker, but notice when I'm closest to it, it's actually showing the indicator for nearest. So I'll go back there. I want to see the endpoint. There we are. And then we come across here. Again, it's just, can you see, you have to wait just a little for the endpoint, not the endpoint, the particular endpoint that you want to be found. And again, here's, it's an intersection. There's another intersect. This time it's an endpoint, and no, the endpoint marker's not actually showing, and that can be a little confusing. We'll assume that it's found the correct point we want, and here's another one, and another one, and away we'll go. Now I'll pause the recording and then just continue on. We'll assume that we're going to come across here, find another intersect, and we'll assume we'll stop at this point. And can you see that when running Osnaps are on, it really does help in finding appropriate points. So I'm able to detail this shape that I want, but I hope you notice that gCADplus is hesitating from time to time because it needs to find particular points, and I can now right click and close it. So I now have a closed polyline running through that area, and we could now hatch it. I'll turn my current drawing color back to by layer, and we'll go to draw and hatch. I've chosen a flagstone pattern by Watson Kilbourne. Watson was an earlier adopter of AutoCAD, and gCADplus can use AutoCAD pattern files, and we've added this to the gCADplus pattern file, and I've rehearsed this so I can select the entity, and now we have a closed polyline running through that space, although the designer might well want this area paved as well, but we'll assume for the sake of demonstration that we now have what we want. Hit the enter key, set a scale, and I've experimented a little, and we'll do that. So there is a paving pattern, and we can now designate that area through there with some sort of irregular flagstone paving pattern, and I think that's a lot simpler than working and drawing each individual flagstone. I just want to experiment by drawing a circle and maybe a line through that circle. So we now have a, let's imagine we were trying to draw a complex shape in here. So let's do it again. We'll draw a polyline. We'll start at that intersection, and we'll try and get to the end of the line. And so if we hit F3, no, F3 did not give us what we want. I need to experiment a little and just see if we can get, might be Command F3, no, that's even worse, so we'll toggle that back again. I need to experiment on the Mac to see whether the F3 key can be used. I think it's a key combination I'm going to need to switch that on or off. So I hope that helps in showing the power of running with lots of Osnaps, but you really do want to be able to turn them off, all off, and then all back on again with a single keystroke. Well, I'd like to add a note that a little reading tells me that on a Mac you can set the keyboard to behave in such a way that the F keys behave as they would on a Windows machine, and I've done just that. So now we can, let's go again to draw a polyline. Again, I'll change my colour to red, so draw a polyline. Now I want to find the end of that line. It finds it very, very easily, and I can go nearest, and that all works just nicely. But if I now hit the F3 key, the object snap is off. If you come down here, object snap is off, and we want an endpoint. See how we cannot find it. What I will do is just come, I'll try here, click on that one, and now it finds it. Now I want intersection, and it finds an intersection. Now I want nearest, near, near. And what I want, notice I want a whole series of nearest, and so I need the Osnaps back on. So F3 again, and we can go nearest, nearest. If I make them quite close together, we'll get the sort of shape that I'm after. And now I get, and well, I'll exaggerate, come out here, and then close, and then fill, and unselect all. It's a trivial example, but it is an example of how to switch Osnaps on and off and use single ones. My own particular preference is go here, clear them all, and I will then use, if I'm starting the polyline command, I want to start from an endpoint, I will use single Osnaps unless I get a situation as we had done here where we were running around the circle, and then I'll return running Osnaps on. So that is purely a personal preference. So you can work on a Mac quite comfortably.